Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast. I'll be your co-host again, Mattson, aka the Real Ginge, with my co-host Alec.
Let's get it.
If you're wondering if JJ was making an appearance again, unfortunately, no.
He is still in timeout.
Nowhere to be found, has not reached out. We hope he's doing okay. But we don't really know. And do we really care? No, we don't.
Well, a little bit.
Maybe just a smidget. He is editing these, so he could just make me sound really dumb this whole time. So it's to be determined.
I hope he just gives you like stupid dog ears. I like that one Filter does.
He just might. And I might have to go on semi-retirement again. So holding that against JJ. Well, today, and what we're continuing on our theme for the month of August is Mel Brooks directed movies. So we're going to be reviewing High Anxiety, that came out in 1977, which is an American satirical comedy written and directed by Mel Brooks. The film is a parody of suspenseful thrillers, particularly those directed by Alfred Hitchcock, which involves around Richard Thorndike, a psychiatrist with severe fear of heights, who becomes the new administrator of a psychoneurotic institute for the very, very nervous. As he uncovers a sinister plot with the institute, he must confront his own phobia to solve the mystery. So this movie has a cast of Mel Brooks, Madeline Kahn, Cloris Leachman, Harvey Korman, Ron Carey, Howard Morris, Dick Van Patten, and Jack Riley. Some of those names at the beginning are hallmarks of a Mel Brooks movie. They seem to just always be there. And like we talked about earlier this month, Alec, if you're in a Mel Brooks movie, you might be in another one. And I'm not quite sure if that's a good place to be.
I think it really depends on the movie and how much you're in it.
Something to be said for that. I'm trying to think. Did I don't think you picked this movie because we already did year two.
Yeah, this was not a me pick.
To be completely honest, I'm not sure if this is a me pick or a JJ pick because I have never seen a Mel Brooks movie beyond, as we talked about, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And
that was Gene Wilder.
I know that's Gene Wilder. I did it again, people, where I keep thinking that's Mel Brooks. But I'm trying to think, besides Spaceballs, I hadn't seen anything. So I might have picked this one, just throwing a dart at the wall. And I'm going to come right out and say it. I hated this movie. This movie drove me crazy. Like, I think it's, like we talked about before, these parody, we did Spaceballs earlier this month. At least that one, like, I understood the subject matter, and I guess I laughed more because, like, there's so much about Star Wars that you can make fun of, and like there's enough of that. And I know this is based off some Alfred Hitchcock things. We've actually reviewed some of those films lately that I hadn't seen in a while or hadn't seen at all. So I understood some of it, but at the same time, I don't know. It felt so over the top, and at times I felt lost in kind of the cobbled together story that they were putting together that it never took off for me. It just always felt like something that were scenes that they hashed together that just felt over the top. So honestly, like, this movie was a hard watch for me.
Interesting. So I liked this more than I thought I was going to. And there was certain parts of it that really hit. Like, I absolutely loved Brophy's Ron Carey, I think it was. His performance in This Is Brophy had
Remind me who Brophy is.
He's a chauffeur.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Like, his role was, I was cracked up. And then I think it's Dick Van Patten, who plays the
Wentworth.
And I mean, one of my favorite scenes was when he was acting as kind of like the scary monster to keep a patient like terrified. And so he's behind Mel Brooks with the teeth, and he's putting them in, pulling them out, doing and like I was just giggling uncontrollably. And then it mixed in a lot of like the vertigo elements from Hitchcock with fear of heights and the looking down and all this stuff. And so I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. Especially since I watched these all in order of how we did them. So I started off with the producers, which was something I didn't really like. Spaceballs, I was back up. And then High Anxiety, I never seen before, first time watching it. And so it was a little bit of a, I don't know, because you'd also, I think you'd watched this before I had, so you'd mentioned in our group chat, like, hey, what was this? Um, and so I was like,
What is it?
oh, I don't know. But watching it, I was like, you know what? I'm not mad about it. Um, I, and I don't know necessarily why I enjoyed it as much as I did, but the moments that really landed for me. Um, and I mean, even I don't know who the assassin guy was, but his one-sided phone calls. I want to kill him. I want to kill him. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. Just let me kill him. Let me kill him. Let me kill him. If you want to kill him, I kill him. Yeah, that was funny to me. I mean, I'm sure you're not going to find that surprising, but I was just cackling for a lot of these little bits.
Yeah, Alec was sitting there like, what's that like? I'd like to have a phone call like that. Like, I could do a phone call like that. I want to do a phone call like that. I want to have.
Yeah, it just makes sense. It's beautiful.
And this is why I live in Washington and Alex in Arizona, and we need
Yeah.
distance.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The text that I sent to the group, and I could have sent more. I said, "High anxiety is terrible." JJ responded with an LOL, and then I think this is in reference to the assassination attempt. They just went Mission Impossible 2 on us, and that's like the scene in the hotel, right, where like all of a sudden I was like, "What the hell just happened?" Like this guy shot someone, pulled the mask off, smiles at Dr. Thorne. I'm like, what is going on? Like, so those that don't know of Mission Impossible 2 or what we're referencing, Mission Impossible 2, I think the worst Mission Impossible of all, at least in my opinion. They got wild in the sense that there was multiple times, good or bad guy was wearing a mask that made them literally sound like and look like whoever they were. And it got to a point where it was like a plot snap. We was like, I mean, they could do anything right now. It's unknown the amount of craziness that can happen from this. And then watching this, I was like, that totally made me think of Mission Impossible. They were doing a parody and they didn't even know they were doing it yet.
Yeah. That's a good point that you make right there.
Yeah, it was a wild scene to me. And that's what this movie felt like. There was just so many things that it almost felt like he was trying to put in so much Hitchcock that it detracted from a somewhat interesting story. Because you really think about it, this really smart, well-respected doctor joins this institute, and he's not quite sure why, like, what happened to his predecessors, what's going on. They're at the dinner table, and we get some interesting characters there. There's some brown nosers.
If you're tardy, no fruit cup.
Yeah, the brown nosers, old white male psychiatrist therapist, and then the senior nurse that's got like metal broad boobs that could probably like kill you if you ran into her, just puncture your heart. And he's trying to figure all this out, and then we quickly find that there's some weird stuff going on, from like bondage in a closet to them trying to keep their patients crazy because they're making money off of them, and come to find they killed the last director, and he's starting to catch wind of some weird stuff. The amount of times he's like, I've never seen that before, because they were totally manipulating these patients. I thought that was an interesting premise. I was like, oh, like, because it was hard to wrap my head around exactly what the story was, but then I started to pick it up, and it just as I felt more comfortable with that, then there was just all these like over the top elements about forcing the Hitchcock aspects in that at times I felt like detracting.
Yeah, I mean, so a quick IMDb search kind of let you know that this movie pays homage or references 20 other films.
Wow.
Which, if you took about 2 minutes from each of those films, it's about how long this movie was. So I mean, yeah, it's jarring from place to place and doesn't really have a super identity to its own self, and it could have, right? Because, like you said, there's very intriguing plot with everything that's happening in all these moving pieces, and you could, play into that a little bit, but that's not Mel Brooks, right?
No, but like the Psycho one where they reference Psycho, for instance, with the
Shower
at
curtain.
the motel with the individual that plays like the bellman or whatever and all that, and he's just like freaking out, and then basically acts like the mother, and then hits him with the newspaper and all that. Like that just felt so. I understood that's one of the most famous parodies, and I knew it was coming the moment that I was just waiting for the shower to like appear, and I was like, "Oh, here we go, it's happening." But it was just so like, I didn't need it. Like, and maybe not that scene, but the even the action. I was like, they're gonna try to fit this in. This newspaper snafu has nothing to do with anything, but they're gonna do it. And that, I mean, I think that's how I felt about some of these things. Like, there's so many we could go on from the Vertigo aspect of things, where Mel Brooks actually in real life is afraid of heights, so that probably wasn't super hard for him to act out. But that happened. I mean, the birds, you get attacked by birds, you got attacked by paper airplanes. I thought that was clever. Sure, I'll give him that. I mean, you can go down the list. I've seen anywhere between 16 to 20 Hitchcock films that were parodied in this movie. And I think you said it best, Alec. That's probably why I don't overly love it, because some of these, like, it's hard enough to write a movie. It's hard to write a movie that you're trying to fit like 20 movies
It's like
into.
sketch comedy. It's a little bit like Monty
Yeah.
Python, but I'm going to say something probably controversial that nobody's really going to like. I think Monty Python is more intelligent with the way they do their sketch comedy, because that's what they're most known for, right? Mel Brooks isn't known for it. So he took essentially what's a bunch of Monty Python skits and put them all together in a movie based off of other actual movies. And it probably didn't hit for you like that. I mean, because there were certain moments where I was like, this is kind of dumb, right? Like the whole car scene. When he's leaving in the rain, stuff like that. I was like, oh, yeah, Hitchcock. But I was also like,
You had to pay homage to north of
I don't really
Northwest.
care. And then, but there was others where I just thought was hilarious. Like at the end where they're zooming out, right, from the motel room, and you have the director going, we're going to hit the wall. We're going to hit the wall. And they just go through the wall. And just keep going. Like I laughed way too hard at that, but that's the kind of stuff that's funny to me. So when it hit, it really hit, and I think those hits were just spaced out just enough to where by the time I was starting to feel a little bit anxious about this movie, they rolled in with another one that I enjoyed.
The psychiatrist scene with the old guy where he ends up fighting Dr. Thorndike, like what was going on? Were they paying homage to some Hitchcock movie that I just didn't know or couldn't remember? Because I was like, he's literally beating his patient as he's hypnotized.
I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong on that. But nothing came to mind that I could think of for that
That
one.
part just didn't make a ton of sense to me. I was like, I just don't fully know what's going on here. And the bondage scene, the Wentworth and the nurse, the nurse is just, I need to look up what she looks like in real life because she terrifies me.
She looks exactly the same.
Does she really look like that, basically? She's a terrifying individual.
I mean, no, not really, but you can tell who she is. Just look up Cloris Leachman, because that's who the nurse is.
Yeah, that's just...
Cloris Leachman.
What a terrible name as well. When I see that, I don't even think of a female. I think of Cloris comes across like a male name to me. I mean, I guess she looks, I'm looking at this a little better, but yeah, not too hard to make her look terrifying. And just put a giant mole in her face, and you've got like
boom,
Matilda's like second sister that just happens to be thin. What it felt like, dude. You laughed, man. Yeah, you laughed, but dude, if that was your mom or your nurse or your lunch lady, you'd be like, I'd be terrified. Wouldn't be what I was looking for. Like, nope, I will bring my lunch to school today. Don't serve me. Don't help me.
That's fair. So I will say I didn't understand a lot of like the overall point and purpose of the story, right? Because you have this guy who's locked away in the asylum that they're not letting out. They're supposed to go away for just a vacation or whatever, and then the like climactic scene of the movie is them trying to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of sitting there for a while, going, why?
But I think that's the problem with this movie is it's just a cobbling together of 20-ish films, and he just wanted to pay homage to his guy Hitchcock, who he got the blessing to do this, and they had a private screening, and Hitchcock gave him his props and said it was funny, and he appreciated it, and I think he just wanted to pay homage to a great one. And it's not like this movie's utterly terrible, but again, it didn't really feel like a movie. Like this would be some people like watch movies on TikTok in short stints because they want to pirate or whatever, and people do that. This movie's perfect for that. You just have those 2 minute stints for each thing, and you'd be like, "Am I watching the same movie? Is this the same thing? This got really weird." There's an assassination attempt in a hotel, and a guy's wearing a mask and takes it off. And what is happening? This dude's afraid to go into the elevator, or he's stuck with weird people in the elevator. All kinds of like weird stuff, and I think I just don't vibe with Mel Brooks' style. We've talked about this before. He's like my an earlier version of Zack Snyder. We'll just fight a little bit. At least this dude isn't worried about aspect ratios and color, but man, he's trying to cram so much down your throat that you're like, bro, like I'm gonna choke.
I mean, fair. It matches my style a little bit more, but there are points where I'm like, what is going on? But I think it was the little kind of intelligent tidbits he puts in. And it's just the way he acts him out, like he's afraid of heights. So he's plastered up against the wall, just like inching. This causes him to inch into the wrong room. Like that cracks me up.
But again, they're so focused on that like to me it just detracts from the story. It's like what we're now focused on heights when he's trying to run away and actually run. What was he trying to do with I'm so lost. What was he doing at the hotel again anyways?
He was there for that conference.
That's right, he's at the conference and then he was trying to run away after that. But like that's the thing I forget. I started to forget like what actually was the main plot driver in this movie. The overarching things are trying to kill him. He's trying to figure it out. But like, I got sidetracked. I got lost so many times. That's what I keep coming back to. Like, it was just too distracting. But if you're someone that has a short attention span, or this movie is also great for you and just want to put it in the background and you happen to come across some of these more interesting scenes, like this movie's just a bunch of scenes. So in that regard, like, it could be a good Saturday movie. Put it on while you're doing the chores. But I'll never watch it again.
All right.
I don't think you could pay me to watch it again. And in fact, after this, I don't know if I'll ever watch a Mel Brooks movie again.
Okay, you'll watch Spaceballs again.
I don't think I will.
You will.
I'm so done with that movie. Like the only one I could see myself watching is what isn't a Mel Brooks movie that is in my head all the time. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And that's not even a Mel Brooks movie.
Oh man. All right, we ready to rate it?
I'm sick in the head here. We are ready to rate this thing. I guess I'll go first because the last two are your picks and you had to go first. For me, this movie's a 1. I've said a lot about it. Like, feels disjointed. I mean, is it well acted? Yeah, you got the solid Mel Brooks people that are in a lot of his films. No problems there. I wanted to like the story. I thought it was compelling, but then things just became so distracting. And I guess the more we do this, I'm just not a parody individual when it's shoved down my throat. And I guess overall, I'm not like a Mel Brooks fanatic. And this movie was really probably the worst of Mel Brooks, potentially. I mean, tune in next week. But it's a hard watch for me. Like, I wanted to be done with this movie so many times. And it's not often I'll text JJ and Alec about a movie being so bad, but it was real easy, real quick with this movie.
All right. Well, before I give my rating, I'm going to give JJ's rating, which is, listen, Mattson's an idiot and Alec looks funny. This is Mel Brooks at its absolute finest. It is intelligent humor, gets me laughing 100%. It just is such a great watch. Good vibes all around. I'm giving it a 4.5. Now, Alec's rating.
Did you make that up, or did he actually say that?
Oh, I made that up completely.
Okay, good.
But if he was here, he would have said it.
He probably would have said something stupid like that, but we don't care because he's not here. So, like, forget
Well, I
that.
figured I'd throw it in there anyway, just for copyright reasons. For me, this movie's a strong 3. I enjoyed it way more than I think I should have. But those little parts that I did enjoy were really funny. Like I still laugh about the whole Brophy enlarging the image with his, dark room that he's got, and ends up at a huge canvas of like blowing this thing up in this little itty bitty teeny tiny room. So little things like that just get me, and I think they're hilarious. I don't know if I'll ever really watch this movie again.
You won't. You definitely never.
I
Ever
don't
will.
think I will. But yeah, I'll give it a 3. I think it was a 3.
I feel like that's generous, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion, even when you're wrong. With that being said,
okay.
JJ isn't here. Hopefully, you enjoyed this review of High Anxiety, another Mel Brooks directed movie. We got one more coming at you this next week in the form of The History of the World Part 1, a long title, but you'll see what we have to say about that one coming up. Thank you all for listening. Hit that follow, like, and subscribe button if you want to watch us simulcast on YouTube and see our bright and shining faces, or maybe our ugly faces. Up to you. Come check us out there, or as always, you can listen to us wherever good podcasts are found on Apple and Spotify at What's Our Verdict. But I have talked too long, and I'll turn the time over to Alec to bring us home.
Yeah, happy to. So this has been week 3 of Mel Brooks. Like Mattson said, we got one more coming. Special thanks to our current patrons. I got your names this time: Richard, Mel Brooks, and Alan Smithy for picking the topic and then picking the films. If you guys want to get involved in what we watch and record, Patreon is a place to do so. Every month, we have patrons pick a topic, and then we select movies that go inside that topic that the patrons get to then select which 4 or 5 we watch. So that's the best way to get involved, and to see some extra content, because I think we're up to about 150 separate videos over on the Patreon at What's Our Verdict. So that's the best place to check it out. And with that, I will send it back to our real ginge fearless leader, Mattson.
I don't know if that didn't feel like the gravitas and the build up there as much. We got to work on that. Wow, 150 videos on Patreon. That scares me. The more people that watch those are just gonna get me in trouble.
Yep.
I need to watch the things that I'm saying on there.
You are a liability. You are a fucking liability.
I definitely am. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Whoa!